This is an orthokeratology case where the patient's gone through a few lenses, and looking at the most current post-wear topographies, I'd say they look pretty good right now. The treatment zones are well centered. There might be a little bit looseness in the vertical meridian, but some previous lens changes had already been made to address that, and it really doesn't look that bad. The only remaining problem right now is undercorrection, and I think you're completely on the right track with just increasing the topo demand. I really don't see any other reason or any other changes that need to be made to this lens, and I think increasing the demand will take care of that residual myopia, and if everything else stays as it is, that would turn out just great. So I'm going to bring up the two most recent lenses for this patient, and with the most recent design, the patient has about a diopter of residual myopia. Prior to that, I think it was a diopter and a half, and if we look at the change that was made at that time, increased power by a little bit less than a quarter diopter, and that affected about a half diopter change in the refraction. So what I would do in this case is just increase this demand another half to 3/4 of a diopter. So if we aim for a target of about plus 250 or so, that should take care of the residual myopia. Seems like you're pretty clear on how to do that. Just click up on the first control point until you're at your target, and then in 25% mode, I usually also swing through the different meridians just to make sure that each one is at about the same place. Oftentimes, changing the power even in 100% mode leaves us with some disparity in the individual meridians. So that's the only change I'd recommend for both the right and the left eyes. The left eye, there is some cylinder in the posterior refraction, but you mentioned the patient said something funny was going on with the lens the night before the examination. So I wouldn't put too much weight into that, especially if you haven't had any cylinder in the past in the refractions. And for the left eye, I believe there was a little bit more of an initial undercorrection, maybe 175. I'll bring those lenses up. Minus 175 with this lens added about a quarter diopter, and I would expect if it's pretty similar to the right eye, he might still have maybe a diopter and a quarter left. So I'd bump this one up a little bit more, 250 or a little bit above 250. Again, going through the meridians afterwards in 25% mode to make sure the different meridians are fairly even to each other, and that should take care of the residual myopia. We're getting a fair amount of clearance centrally, and we're going to be raising the reverse curve a little bit more. Some of this could be just perhaps Wave did not interpret the topography as it actually is, and this lens actually sits closer to the cornea than the graph would have us believe. If we are getting a lot of lift, once in a while a patient may start to develop a double ring, but if it's a younger patient, I don't think that'll be a problem. If it does, then what we'd have to do is just drop the entire lens closer to the cornea. But that's just kind of guessing and thinking worst case scenario. I honestly think that just changing the demand on your most current lens for both the right and left eyes should take care of your patient's residual prescription. So best of luck. Thanks for watching, and hope this helps.